Hello and welcome back to the program. I am once again your host Joe. This week we watched 1960's Eyes Without a Face. No, not that one. This year in Strange Coincidences, I swear to God. Previously, we got both of the Indian films on my list back to back, and then this time we get the two foreign horror films from 1960 back to back. It keeps happening. Anyhow, Eyes Without a Face, directed by Georges Franju, and with a score on IMDb of 7.6 out of 10, this feels like a film that's very influential, in a way that's actually it's got a bigger footprint than it has a reputation, it feels like. Between the featureless mask in the film apparently serving as an inspiration for the design of Michael Myers, and the kidnapping girls to steal their parts to mend someone else is kind of a recurring trope, this film has legs that have run further than the film itself. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. So this is a French horror film that deals with a surgeon who steals women's faces in order to surgically graft them onto his disfigured daughter. My partner pointed this out. This is a recurring trend in French horror, themes of identity, and that made me wonder how much of that theme is inspired by The Occupation, and basically the masks that collaborators had to wear afterwards to try to save face, as it were.
Pun intended. But enough about that.
Yeah, basically, after the Second World War, it was decided that collaborators were just too many in number and degree to effectively root out and prosecute. So in order for society to even function, they had to just implement a sort of don't ask, don't tell social contract regarding the war years. Everyone who sold out their country to the Germans would just have to suffer in silence with the guilt over what they did, assuming such a person even feels guilt. And in this film, our protagonist, Christiane, is much the same way. She's depressed by her condition, she's excited to get a new face, but by the end of the film she starts to feel the guilt of all the crimes she's effectively taken part in. I should mention her, I guess you'd call it character design. She wears a mask. She has to wear this mask to protect her disfigured face. It's eerie, it's spooky, it's intentionally unsettling and uncanny valley. No wonder she hates it and doesn't want to wear it. I guess in a sense that's another person harmed by the doctor. Her desire for a new face is understandable, but it's exacerbated by this grim visage she's forced to wear. I should mention there were masks that disfigured folks wore back then. After the First World War, many soldiers who suffered terrible injuries came home, and they would cover their injuries on their faces with a partial mask. If you've watched Boardwalk Empire, they showed an example of this with Richard Harrow. It's not a fantastic mask, but it's a whole lot better than the cold blank look that's being forced on Christiane. Once again, getting a little ahead of myself. The film opens with a scene where a doctor is giving a lecture about breakthroughs in transplants. Ways to transplant organs without needing to match blood types. The specifics of the technique aren't important, but what I feel is important is that this movie came out in 1960, just a few years after the very first successful organ transplant was performed. This is almost science fiction. This technology was so new. This is like the surgical equivalent of all those Isn't the Internet Spooky movies from the late 90s and early 2000s. Unless you count skin grafts, but they're less impressive than cutting someone open and dropping a kidney in there. So this was very much pop science. The doctor giving the lecture is in fact the same doctor who is stealing women's faces. He's an expert in transplants, a pioneer in the industry. His daughter, as previously mentioned, was disfigured in a car crash, but so was his assistant, and she was more or less his first human test. Once he's proved concept on the assistant, he's ready to try it on his daughter. And I say first human test subject because he has a bunch of dogs basically in a bunker that he's using as test subjects as well. There's scenes where he goes in there and they bark at him and he rattles the cages. He's got a table in the middle of the room for, strapping a dog down and practicing the grafts on. People bring him strays to replace dogs that don't make it through the surgery. It demonstrates a certain level of coldness that he's able to project onto his victims. The dogs don't matter, they're subhuman. And the girls don't matter because they're not his daughter. I'm going to go back to the assistant though. She's important too. So she owes him for fixing her face. She's the one who's going out there and basically seducing young girls to come home to smell the doctor's rag. She's also the one who's dumping the bodies when they inevitably go wrong. It's a gruesome job, but she doesn't seem to mind. She's able to compartmentalize all of this horrible stuff that she's doing because it's part of a duty she has. She is a collaborator. God, we do get to watch one surgery actually happen, and I thought they were going to cut away. You know, when they do a thing like this in an old film like this, you know, they show somebody's hand going down with a knife, and then the camera pans up and you maybe see shadows moving against a wall. But no, they just straight up knife into skin, blood, blood, blood. And it just, seeing the knife cut into the girl's face and the blood bubbling up, it made my toes curl even if I know the trick they used to make it look real. It's a blood tube on the backside of the knife. They peel the girl's face off. They've got these clamps that they're putting around the face as he cuts. And they peel the whole face off. And then they wind up bandaging her up. They put her upstairs in a bedroom to recover. And amazingly, she wakes up and like breaks out. She clonks the nurse over the head with a bedpan and just runs out of there. I'm shocked she isn't writhing in pain. They don't have her on an IV drip or anything. There's no anesthesia here. There's no painkillers. They peeled her face off. She should be in the worst pain of her life. Maybe she was in shock. Maybe it's the adrenaline. She winds up jumping to her death rather than facing the world like this.
Pun intended. But enough about that.
And she ends up becoming just a footnote to the doctor, which is also wild to think about because he now has to look at her face every time he looks at his daughter. But no, to him, she's just another stone in the yellow brick road, forgotten the moment they dump her body in the river. Now, unfortunately for Christiane, the doctor's technique doesn't exactly work great, and after just a few weeks her new face starts to necrotize. Yum. So they need to go back to preying on young women in the streets again. Yeah, the bulk of the film just deals with, like, the bizarre parasocial things going on with the assistant and the people she's trying to seduce back to the apartment. There's a police investigation happening, and just interactions around the house. There's not as much overt horror in this, like, atmospherically, but I think that works for it. It might actually be more suitable to call this science fiction, but it definitely has horror elements. Like think about Frankenstein. Frankenstein is horror, but it's also very science fiction. This could easily fall under that umbrella too. In the end, there is a somewhat fitting death for our villain, and his next victim manages to escape from captivity, and the faceless girl just sort of leaves. This is what we call in the wrestling world a dusty finish. It's sort of an end. Someone clearly loses, but who wins is less important narratively than how it actually winds up concluding. As always, the question is, would I recommend this film? And I think, yeah, I'd recommend this. It's not terribly long. It's only 84 minutes. It's not even an hour and a half. Give this a watch. It's short enough, it's good enough, it'll keep you interested. And hey, speaking of giving something to watch, what are we going to watch next week? 3, 2, 1, and go. Alright, down into the spinning nodge they go, and then flung into the center, where there is more spinning obstacles. That's a whole lot of obstacle for a funnel entry. But coming out first, it is the Battle of Algiers, 8.5, and Godzilla out front. Portrait of a Lady on Fire and Networking behind, followed by everything else. Battle of Algiers is interesting. I was looking forward to that at some point. Not really any obstacles on this. There's a corner coming up, though. We'll see how they handle that. Swimmingly. Alright. They slow down a little bit. Battle of Algiers still sort of out front. Okay. Well, the rankings don't seem to know what they're doing. Okay, well, Battle of Algiers definitely out front. Why does the rankings think that all these things in the back are in the lead now? Okay, they've jumped over the eggs. Network hit the eggs and did not make the jump. Landed into this thing. Now they're going through. Portrait of a Lady on Fire, 8.5, Algiers, and Godzilla. Flung up onto the table and caught. This is a very strange course. They are squished and sent onto the ramp, and Battle of Algiers is still out front, followed by, oh my god, Pink Flamingos. Godzilla 8.5, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, and To Die For are in behind. But Battle of Algiers still out front. Can it do it? Gets a little bit of a speed boost off of that, but so does Pink Flamingos. They are neck and neck. A fight for your life, and the Battle of Algiers. Battle of Algiers and Pink Flamingos. Pink Flamingos is officially out front now. No, 8.5 has joined the fray. Okay, our three contenders right now are 8.5 Pink Flamingos in the Battle of Algiers. 8.5, of course, is Federico Fellini's probably best film, from what I understand. A little more understandable than Satyricon will have been, I assume. 8.5 is just narrowly in front of Pink Flamingos, but it's still anybody's game. We are coming up on the bird's nest. And it looks like it's not going to be Pink Flamingos again. 8.5 plunks down into the nest first, followed by Pink Flamingos, The Battle for Algiers, To Die For, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, Godzilla, Here Comes Naked Lunch, and Fantastic Planet. And here come the rest, Written on the Wind, Mr. Vampire, The Grifters is going on a trip. There's A Hard Day's Night, A Master Builder, I Walked with a Zombie, Francis Ha, Altered States, Bringing Up Baby, Howard Hawks' film, Two Turns of Turquoise to Taos Tonight, I mentioned that earlier, Robert Downey Sr., Here Comes a Safe Place, Throwdown, Alexander Nevsky, Anatomy of a Murder, Sorcerer, and Les Samurai. That's not all the movies, but Grifters is not going to pass the line there. In fact, wandering over there towards the fire. The Grifters are about to become cooked, as they say. Slowly progressing fire, and toasted. Okay, it's official, our winner, 8.5. I've been waiting on this one. Okay. Let's pull up its spot on the list. 8.5. It's number 24 on my list. It's from 1963, another 60s movies. It's on the list because it's from the list of 1001 movies you must see before you die. Must. It's a requirement. Directed, like I said earlier, by Federico Fellini, it is a drama. 8 out of 10 on IMDb. It's not our highest ranked film, but it is up there. Hour and 39 minutes. It's Fellini. It's another 2-hour plus movie. Gonna happen. God, I wonder. Yeah, it's tied for 6th best ranked movie on my list, so that's pretty good. The highest I have is The Great Escape and The Kid at 8.2. So the fact that I have six films at ranked 8, pretty good.